Hi there, welcome back to another video. So in this particular video here, we're gonna give you a quick update on my eToro portfolio performance, okay, and also at the same time, I'm gonna combine these stocks in focus, and I'm gonna share with you one of the particular stocks that I'm personally looking out for recently as well. Okay, giving you the in-depth analysis, and of course, for those of you who are following me and copying my portfolio on eToro, this video here is to also give you kind of like a quick update as to what's the performance and what are some of the things that we are looking out for, so that even if you're just following and copying, I think it's also important from time to time, on a month-to-month basis, to keep you guys updated on what's happening, so that at least okay, not just by blindly following, but at least to a certain extent what we are doing and what's happening in the market. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna jump straight into my screen, show you some of the things over here, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so what you see over here is basically the performance so far. Okay, so we already transited into today is the 1st of September, so it's a new month. So you can see as of August, pretty solid. I would say is actually the best performing month for 2021 for me so far, and that brought our performance year to date to 10%, right? Just slightly above it. Okay. Now my target over here, of course, for this year, the S&P is performing slightly better than my portfolio. Okay. But I'm not directly in competition with the S&P market. For me, I focus a lot on maintaining a good risk score, which means I would like to do it very, very safe and conservative, and then at the same time, I wouldn't want my volatility of the portfolio to be too big. Okay, so as long as on an average, year to year, if I can get something between like 15% or 12 to 15, and if any upside above 15, I would be pretty happy with that. Okay, so we are still on track. Okay, I would say we still have September, October, November, and of course December, which usually December is slightly slower. Okay, so we have about maybe a good 3.5 months to bring our performance slightly towards 15%, and that's very, very doable. Okay, so let's see how it goes. There's nothing 100% in the market, but it is what it is as of now. Okay, and of course, I mentioned about the risk score. You can see one of the objective of this portfolio is really to ensure that my risk score here continue to maintain below 5. Okay, so 5 is actually an average, and you can see over here my average as of now is 3, which means that the entire portfolio, the volatility is not that great, right? It's still very, very low. In other words, it's safe, right? It's conservative, and that's the approach that I would like to adopt, especially for those of you who are following and copying the portfolio. Okay, at the end of the day, you want to feel safe as well. Okay, that's the objective. Okay, the number of copiers hasn't really changed much, right? Has been hovering around like 50 plus since last month. Okay, and of course the AUM you can see here is still hovering around 100 to 200, right? Somewhere there. Not much of a change so far, right? But let's see how it goes. Okay. So if I bring you to the portfolio right now, right, to just highlight some of the, I would say, key performance, what are some of the stocks that really brought up the entire portfolio. Okay, it's actually mRNA. You can see we have taken actually partial profits of this trade for I think 3 times already, and I'm remaining about a little bit left in this position to ride it as far as we can, right? And let's see how far this can go. So far, this is about 100%. In terms of like this trade itself. Okay, last year we did have Zoom, right, which rallied I think about 120-130%. mRNA is probably the one this year that we are looking at. Okay, so other than that, some other positions are running pretty neat as well, like Nvidia and TEAM. Okay, they are pretty solid. Okay, there are some seasonal trades as well. You can see like Paycom right now is running about 22%. We're gonna get out at Paycom soon. Okay, CCL here is running about 12% as of now as well. So there are some trades that are running pretty great. Okay, of course we do have some trades that are in the red as well. You can see some of these stocks over here. Okay, but some of them are long term, some of them are shorter term, which will get out, right? Like TTWO here will be getting out today, right? And that's a 8% down, but you just realize that loss, and it's part of it, right? So that's the overall performance of it. I think if you're on eToro, you're able to also look at this, right? Very, very transparent, and all the trades are basically public. Okay, so that's a quick update. Now for me, okay, I'll walk you through some of the models that I'm personally using to kind of understand what is the current market environment and what we do need to take note of. Okay, so first up over here is the macro environment. Okay, so I've just updated this as of like 5 minutes ago. Some data is not really up to date yet because you know, we are just transiting into September, and some of this data is due basically on August, which means maybe next week I'll still need to keep this updated to have like the most recent macro score. Okay, but as of now, based on what we have, okay, the scoring has increased to 2. Previously it was 0. That means in August it was 0, and then of course going into early September, the score has increased back to 2. Okay, but I'm still a little bit cautious in the market as a whole. While we are transiting back towards like a risk-on environment, we are still paying very, very close attention to what the Fed is gonna do. Okay, last Friday, basically Jerome Powell does its thing again, right? Being a very dovish guy, pushing back, tapering, not really announcing when's the specific date to start and how fast they're gonna do it. So the market actually turned positive. We saw S&P break all-time high again, right? But eventually the Fed will need to taper, okay, because inflation is gonna pick in. You know, economy is gonna start heating up. They will need to do it. Okay? So do pay attention to that, because by then, the market in terms of equities are probably gonna see some downside, or I would say maybe if it's a huge surprise or the Fed is gonna do it in a very, very quick environment, then we might even see maybe a 10 to 15% all the way until maybe 20% correction in the S&P or general equities. Okay, so I'm still pretty cautious. Okay, it's not the time to sell off the entire portfolio, but you know, it's cautious. Okay, so that's what we are looking out for moving forward. Okay, now in terms of, you know, that's the quick update, right? So in terms of like what is the stock that I would like to talk about in this video here, to kind of like combine, okay, not only from the update of the portfolio, but also to combine the stocks in focus series that we do every week. Okay, so one of the stocks that I'm personally looking out for is no other than Intel. Okay, and I think you if you're active in the market, you probably have heard about, you know, articles talking about semiconductors having a lack of supply, and some of the semiconductors companies are definitely going to be benefiting from this environment moving forward in the next perhaps 1 to 2 years time, right? So some of the companies that you might come across includes like Intel, you know, Nvidia, TSM, even like AMAT, okay, Micron Technology, MU, right? So there are many different companies related to this space, okay, and today we're just going to focus on one, and this is one of the companies that I'm personally, we have one position already on Intel, okay, but I'll be looking to kind of stack it up, add on to the positions that we're going to have, right? So where is it? Okay, over here. So you can see it's down by a little bit, by 6.8%, but the upside is still there, right? The forward projection for Intel for me is due to the upside. Okay, so over here, some of the models that I use to analyze the market includes, of course, the fundamental, the macro, the sector perspective, and then we do some valuation model, and then we include the technical perspective to time our entry. Okay, so from the fundamental point of view, okay, this is the quantitative score that we use, okay, to analyze the company. So Intel is actually scoring 18 out of 21, which to me is a fundamentally very strong company. Okay, in other words, I'm not going to be worried about Intel, you know, going bankrupt or things like that. The financial statements, the financial ratios for Intel is solid. Okay, in other words, I could even say this, you know, you close 2 eyes, you invest in Intel, you're probably gonna be very, very comfortable with that. Okay, so that's what the fundamental scoring of 18 out of 21 tells me. Okay, so it's a no-brainer. Definitely, if you're looking at Intel, the direction you want to focus is more to the upside, right? That's what the fundamental score tells me. Now, if I bring you to the valuation toolkit, there are various models, but because Intel here pays off dividend, okay, and they do have some consistent growth in their dividend payout as well, Therefore, what is the model I'm using is dividend discount model to kind of find the sweet spot, right? What's the intrinsic value for Intel? Okay, so you can see over here, Intel pays off an annual dividend of about 1.37, right, $1.37, with an expected dividend growth rate of 7% per year. Okay, based on this settings over here, you can see the current intrinsic value for Intel is about $56.82, and the current market price Intel is trading at is about $54. Okay, which means that right now we are basically pretty close to the current IV, or you can even say you're currently enjoying a discount of $2.80. Okay, which is a 5% premium. Okay, or I would say 5% margin of safety if you put it in some technical terms. Okay, but the idea is right now Intel market price is pretty attractive because it's not at the overvalue, not at the expensive point of perspective. Okay, so if you're looking at Intel, I think right now from just the fundamental and the valuation point of view, it's worth considering. Okay, and of course what we do here is we add in a layer of technical analysis as well, and of course I do look at the seasonal trends at the same time, right? And Intel is actually within the seasonal as well, so a lot of things are actually aligned for Intel right now. Okay, but of course it does not mean that you just anyhow buy in, right? So for me, from a technical point of view right now, okay, this is on the daily scale, right? Because it's a longer term investment, we are looking at the daily perspective. We are seeing a technical pattern where the market has slowed down quite a bit, right? There's a lack of momentum since I would say somewhere mid-May. While price is coming down, it's not coming down very, very quick. Okay, so most of the time from a technical pattern, when we see something like that, there's a good chance we'll see a reversal back to the upside. Okay, and that will be great, right? Because if today I'm looking at Intel, I'm interested in the upside. I would also want to time and position myself where, just before it start taking off, I want to position myself first. Okay, so that's where we're looking at it. Okay, we're gonna possibly get involved in Intel, either maybe later part of this week or even going into next week. But somewhere between, now until then, next week, okay, probably I'll be entering on Intel as well over here. Okay, the upside of it is gonna be huge, I would say, because fundamentally it's a strong company, and then we can ride on the semiconductor space where right now we do have a lack of supply, and Intel would have that position to kind of like capitalize on that too, in that whole balance of demand and supply equation. Okay, so Intel definitely is a worthwhile company to watch. If let's say you're not a fan of Intel, you can still consider companies like maybe Nvidia, TSM, even AMAT. Okay, any companies that is related to the semiconductor space, I would say you can pay attention to it. But of course, do select a company with strong fundamentals, right? If you're looking at longer term. Okay, so companies like Micron Technologies, MU, ticker symbol MU, to me, I'm not paying too much attention to that simply because the fundamental of that company is not as strong as some alternative that we can get, right? Like TSM and Intel over here. Okay, so hope this little perspective, right, give you some understanding about the approach that I use over here to kind of analyze a company, and how we're gonna execute that as well. Okay, so with that, do hope this session here, this little recording, this video benefit, give you some different insights, not just from my portfolio perspective to keep you guys updated for those of you who are following me on eToro, but also to share with you from Stocks in Focus series, what is the one company you want to keep an eye on. Okay, if I'm not wrong, last week we did talk about Nvidia, and the price point of Nvidia has continued to rally, which is fantastic. Okay, if you're you benefited from that video, you're also riding on Nvidia, do let me know in the comments below. Okay, and of course, if you're also looking at Intel, do let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy something like that, you enjoy the entire series of what we're doing here called Stocks in Focus, do like this video. Okay, it's gonna help YouTube algorithm to reach out to more people, and of course, it also shows some appreciation for me, and that will really inspire, encourage me to keep going on and produce such video for you guys, right? So that's all for me. Okay, all the best to your investing journey, and we'll see you guys next week again.